with Tamela. Let's laugh and spread love. Tea with Tamela. You're more than enough. Tea with Tamela. Don't ever give up. Tea with Tamela. Come and fill your cup. Tea with Tamela.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Tea with Tamela. So, this is the first episode of season two. We gave y'all a little brief snippet of season 1.5. We've been away for about 3 years, which seems like so long, but we're so thrilled to be back, just sharing all the things from faith, family, food, football, fitness, you name it. We're going to try to hit it. I guess it was probably about 2019 where I kind of cultivated the brand, the F word.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that kind of came from so much of our life of just how we executed, day to day things, whether it was how we were living out our faith or how we were doing things inside of our family. We're foodies. We love to share all the things around that.
Yep,
And, since then have started a food truck
yep.
company and then fitness. I just kind of threw that one in there a little bit, but just
Okay,
all the things,
fitness.
on a little fitness
Come
journey.
on,
So throwing a
fitness.
little bit of that in there, but all the things that just really speaks volumes to who we are as the Davises. And so just thrilled to be back. And then we're gonna start something new
Come on, new.
with season two. So at the end of every episode, I'm gonna actually spill a little tea.
Okay.
Now I think just culturally or from the surface, tea
Yeah.
becomes something where I think like when I first started hearing like what's your tea, like what's the tea, it
What's
was
the
like
tea?
what's the gossip,
Yeah, yeah.
like what's the hot thing. And I think here I want to be able to go layers and layers and layers deep with the guests that we bring
Oh,
in,
yeah.
just so that we're able to put on display some of the things that people may or may not know, but go even deeper with the things that may not be easy to, really find out about a person or where they are
Yeah.
in their season of life. How's that sounding?
That's awesome. Look, it's admiring to see how far this has came. Like even with it launching in 2019, like I saw the 3 to 5 year buildup of it of in your inside your mind, inside your spirit of kind of where you wanted to take it and to see like it get manifested in or coming to fruition in 2019 and where it has grown to and has come since is just amazing at who God is, who God has called you to be. I love where you're going with season two. I think it fits everything what it was originally designed to be.
Mm,
Like the F word side on the football side is everybody sees one life of football, but what they don't see is the deeper layers, the behind the scenes, the hardships. Everybody sees the glitz and glamour. And so I kind of like that you're doing what T is for Tamala, and it's everybody sees this about a person, but we're going to talk about what people don't see or
we're doing.
yeah, or we're doing. Yeah, listen, listen. I don't
What
want to.
I'm doing, what you're doing, what
I
we're
don't like to
doing.
want to hold claim in space I ain't fully been invited into. I guess I'm fully in now. I was like, I came on,
You still
guys.
partial, I have the
I'm up.
case week by week.
See how she
I
just
have
brought
to
me in and
act
kicked
like
me
I
out,
see
y'all.
how
This
you
have it.
act and determine if we're gonna
Listen,
invite you in.
I'm gonna keep showing up. Keep me on point. Keep me on point. But no, I love it because it's this picture of people see one side, and it's like so much stuff is out on social media. Everything is in the news, especially when you're in a public space, or you're a public figure. People see everything, but they cast a vision of what they can see,
Hmm.
and they don't know all the other stuff. And so, like to be able to have a space where we talk about the deeper layers. This is the spilling of tea, you know.
This is the spilling of tea. I guess to introduce you to people who may not know you.
Mm,
I just so happen to be married to this guy.
mm-hmm. Tamala's husband, y'all.
Yeah, he goes by Tamela's husband now. And so I think what starting back with season two, like people saw a lot of you on season one. I think it initially started with one episode and then it kind of grew. But a lot of the questions that we would get hit with, whether it was behind the scenes, through inbox messages and things of that nature, I think it was super cool to bring you in so that they could not just hear my perspective, but your perspective on a lot of those things as well. And then as we ushered in different guests on different topics that were either, hot topics, whether it was mental health or things like that, bringing in professionals of people who really specialize in that space so they could hear our perspective, but not just our perspective on, everything. We're able to, again, usher other people in who had expertise in those things. And so thrilled to have you join me today for, I guess, the relaunch or the beginning of season two. And so think today it'll be very, very good for us to dive into, I guess, the guiding principle of just how we function and operate in life, individually, collectively, how that's been kind of transformed into how we also steward our family. And when I always mention, the F word, the first F I always mention is faith,
Hmm.
which is something that is, I think, really big for the both of us. And so I think it'll be really cool to just, go deeper there,
Hmm.
pull back some layers of what it looked like to just really establish our faith individually
Yep.
before it became a collective thing,
Yeah.
before it became like this thing of how we wanted to lead our family.
I love it. I'm here for it. Anytime we're on the faith conversation, I get excited. And
You get
so,
excited about it.
yeah,
What gets you the most excited, I guess, about going to the faith topic and then that being like how we're gonna open season two?
I just don't want people to be afraid of faith. And that's why I love that we can just kind of level set with people is like we're all humans trying to connect with a higher power. And in our faith, of course, we're connecting with the true God, the creator of the universe through Jesus. But I just don't want people to be afraid of that.
Hmm.
Like, and so when you get a chance to talk about it, it's just like talking from this place of not being afraid to go there. And I think I want to level set is a lot of times when people start speaking from faith elements and can speak on a higher level just because they have a lot of reps, it's not because they're in a higher place. Like it's only God and we're human. It's like we're only brought up because of what he did. It has nothing to do with, and what ends up happening is people feel inferior. Or
Mm,
they feel like, oh, this person has got it all right. Like, no, that's what I want to make sure people know. We don't have it all. We are broken individuals of a broken oneness group that's being continued to move closer through God and what He's doing, and that's available for everybody. But also, what ends up happening is you put humans on a pedestal, and humans just shouldn't be there.
they should
Like
not
that,
be there by any means.
humans should not be on a pedestal, and you don't want to place them there because when they fall, then it impacts you, and you don't
Hmm.
want that to be what that person should be doing is pointing you towards God and showing you what's possible through God.
Right.
And so the higher that it seems like we're going up, we're only going up because God is there. And it's like that's we don't want to self-manufacture any level of rise. Like it needs to be attached to this is what the Holy Spirit can do, and this is what he can do in your life. But that only is happening as we continue to walk it out. And as you walk it out, there's gonna be lefts, there's gonna be
Right.
rights, and it's gonna be um messy, but it's made right through Christ, who is perfect, and he can allow you to live in a holy way. And I just don't want people to be afraid of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people to not be afraid of that. But I think also people have to be able to understand how they actually get there. And so, with that, I guess a good way we could start this is kind of talking about, if you're open to sharing,
Hmm.
what was the defining moment, I think, in our lives. And I think sometimes people have heard, bits and pieces of it.
Hmm. What have
But
they heard? What have they heard?
well, I mean, I don't know what exactly they've heard. Maybe something they've been able to read on Google. I think, sometimes we get hit with, oh, the man of God thing. And it's like, wait, well, faith started way before then.
Yep.
Or like, oh, like, there was this whole thing where you went to jail in college. So things that are easy to
Yep.
Google and
Yep.
find. But when you go back to like seeds being planted like very early in
Hmm.
life because
Yep.
it wasn't until recently I realized that there are a lot of people who aren't even introduced to church
Yeah.
in their childhood.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
so although there are opportunities for people to grow in their faith at a tender age, which is something that I'm hopeful to happen, with our children, some people aren't exposed to church at all,
Yep.
or they're taught religion and there's not like this intentionality of going deeper
Yep.
to understand the difference between religion and relationship.
Yep.
And so with us, like we were exposed to church as early as we can remember, just because we grew up in the South, that's the Bible Belt. Our families were very much, we go to church and it wasn't like, do you want to go to church? It was
Yep.
one of those things where it was a requirement because, that's what they did and that's what they exposed us to. But at some point, I think it became a check in the box thing for
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
it wasn't going because we desired to go or because we were eager to grow in our faith or understand biblical principles
Yeah.
in depth, it was because on Sundays you go to church. And so I can remember being like, well, you know what? I stayed out all night, I partied, but I went to church. And that
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
my stamp
Yeah.
of approval, like,
Yep.
but I did go to church. And
Yep.
so I guess my question would be, what was it like growing up in church, and how was that one of the things, even though, a lot of life happened and it wasn't that you lived out this relationship from this tender age, but because you had those seeds that were planted, you always found your way back.
Yeah. Well, the Bible says that you train a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. And so, though my childhood from a faith element wasn't perfectly aligned with the Bible, there was a raising of going to church.
Hmm.
And so it like got me in the vicinity of where the answers were.
Yes.
And so it's like you keep going here long enough, something gonna happen.
Something,
You stay
some
near this
seed gonna
vicinity.
play.
And so like my mom had me at an early age, and so I was living with my grandmother, and my grandmother was like the elder at the church. She might as well have been the pastor. She just didn't preach on Sundays, but she was taking care of everybody. She was feeding the sick and shut in. She was feeding and taking care of the pastors. She was doing all that, and she would always stand up in the middle of the service and talk to the congregation. And she was really about that action, that she was building her life on the Bible. Now
Right.
you got to think, by the time you don't realize this when you're a kid, but by the time you come on the scene, your grandma done lived a whole life.
A whole life, a
So
whole lot of
you
life.
don't know her in the context of who she was before she met Jesus and all this.
Right.
So all I know is when I got on the scene, my grandmother was in that Bible every day. She was praying every day, and she was at that church every Sunday. She wasn't cussing. She wasn't allowing no mess to go on in her house,
Mm.
and she was gonna take care of as many people as she could. So in my eyes, my grandmother was perfect, and
Mm.
now that's a whole nother level
Well,
of
that
trauma.
kind of goes back
That's a
to
whole
what
nother,
you
that's a whole nother
introduced,
level of trauma that we ain't gonna
what
get
you
on this
started
episode.
with, where
But
it's
it's like how you even come to the contact with it. Now that's so. But anyways, so I'm with my grandmother, and so I'm in church all the time, and she used to have us in suits. Have your wallet, pull out your money, pay your tithes. Like,
hmm
it ain't but $1 now. I was actually paying more than my tithe, so I was blessing myself because I ain't had no money. She had to give me some money to
she
give.
had to give you, but that was a principle that she was
Yep,
sharing. Like, I give to you,
yep,
you steward it, and you give it back
yep,
with me. $1,
yeah.
that was a
I
lot.
put that
I
dollar
remember
in.
giving some money from my piggy bank.
Yeah.
It's
Hey,
like, let me
look.
get some coins to put in church.
Uh-huh. And so those were all the things. And so I think that, and then even when I moved with my mom was still in the flow of doing that, going to
Right.
church. So we were going to church, going to Sunday school. So even when I was in high school and I started getting into a lot of stuff, the seed of church was always there. Praying was always there. Reading the Bible. Now I wasn't reading the Bible at the time, but my grandmother, every time I went to her room, she was reading the Bible. So that was already imprinted in my mind that that's something that you do.
Right.
And so I think all of that served later when it started to make sense of who Jesus was, and I started to personally interact with him. A lot of that, not necessarily groundwork was laid, but a lot of those seeds were already planted.
And because those seeds were planted, I'm assuming it gave you just kind of like a aha moment where you could see what was happening in your then encounter when you were like, oh, wait, like I'm being radically transformed. But you could see all the groundwork that had been done
Mhm.
prior to that moment that then made all of this just kind of come together.
Yeah, I think when I my eyes were open, so it was December 2008 when I actually came to Christ and kind of like
You were in Nashville too, right?
yeah, I was in Nashville, like, and
That's
now I live
full
in
circle
Nashville.
moment.
It is. And so the scales were removed from my eyes, and all of a sudden I understood why Jesus had to die. Like his why him up on that cross and his blood washing us clean, and there's no good that we could do, connects us to him. Um but his death, burial, and resurrection is created a bridge that we could use to get to God. And that's our connection. And how it's all about using that story to go and expand the kingdom of God. When that happened, all of a sudden I saw back to the way I was grew up, and I could see what was wrong with why people weren't getting the message.
Mm,
That the way that it was being taught or the way that it was being received is like you can be in the right place, but if that message isn't being properly shared, or if it's not being translated to an age appropriate way, like it's almost like different translations of the Bible. Um, it helps with the understanding, makes it digestible.
Yes,
So
I can see that.
that all started to click, and it was like, oh, well, I want to go back to my community and make sure I'm sharing the gospel the right way.
Well, I think like when we were growing up, there wasn't like children's church or
Hmm.
young adult church, or
Hmm.
it was you come in here, you sit down, you be quiet, and
Right.
everybody's listening to the same message. And
Right.
so I think there's been like a huge evolution of like this new way of doing church where it's kind of individualized. There's a customizable approach to, we have the little people church, and then we have the what is it, K through 5
Yeah.
church
Yeah.
that, they kind
Yeah.
of
Age
like
appropriate.
have it age appropriate, where sometimes it's the same message, they're just
Hmm.
individualizing it
Yep.
to that age group, and that probably helps kids be able to process it a little bit better than
Right.
probably we had the opportunity to do.
Right.
The other thing is, I remember when came to Arkansas State for grad school, and I went to there was a Bible store, I think it was called Lifeway,
Hmm.
like a Bible store.
Yep.
But that was my first time going into like a Christian Bible bookstore
Right.
that actually had different translations of the Bible,
Yep. Yep.
because
Everybody at our church had King
they had
James.
King James
King
version. I'm
James.
like, I
Thee thou
don't
art.
understand what thee thou
We
or
read
art
Shakespeare.
did. I love Shakespeare. Oh gosh. But there was a deeper level that I was able to go because there was clarity in what I was reading and how I was able to apply it in real time
Hmm.
to what was happening in my life. And so that was where I guess I would say like an encounter or that radical transformation
Right.
happened, just
Right.
because getting in a group amongst peers. I mean, there were different things that had happened before then. There were seed planting
Yeah.
and watering, and I was starting to see the scales somewhat come off, where I
Yep.
was like, oh, like I should do this better, or I'm falling short here. And so
Yeah.
there was awareness in areas that I didn't have awareness in previously, but there was still work that needed to be done. And so I remember going to the Christian bookstore, Lifeway, and there were all these different translations of the Bible. And I actually bought one. Now I was, I don't know, early 20s. And the first one I bought, I think it was for like teens. It was like
Hmm.
something that we would give like Bailey Grace now,
Right.
who's 12. But I'm
Yep.
like, I need to get the word as watered down
Yep.
and direct as possible so that I have clarity of what it is that I'm taking in, so that as I'm continuing to say yes, as this transformation is beginning to happen.
We're not gonna say watered down. We're gonna say as mushy as possible. Not watered down. We don't
Well,
want to.
mushy.
We don't
It's
want to
not.
dilute it.
No,
We
don't
just
want.
want it, but we want it mushy so you can
Mushy,
digest
so
it.
I could
So you
digest
can
it.
digest
Like
it.
I
That's
mean,
good.
it was
That
like
was
a
great
smoothie.
awareness.
Like I
That was
need.
great. That was
I'm like
great
I
awareness.
needed
Yeah.
something that wasn't as advanced, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm new to this, picking up my Bible
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
I'm new to this, really trying to break down these scriptures and see like what's happening in my life,
Yeah.
that these things could be applied to, or to be able to identify
Yeah.
exactly where I'm falling short.
Yep.
And then from there, I was able to, start grabbing study Bibles to
Yeah.
go deeper and deeper. And it was at Arkansas State,
Yeah.
actually, being involved with campus outreach,
Yeah.
going to a weekend retreat where my mom, so funny, actually thought I was going to a cult group. And I was like, what? And so it was one of those things where she was like, hey, you can't be riding with people you don't know. Like, I'm like taking a picture of this lady's tag number and like
Yeah.
sending it to her, because it's like I want in, but I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I don't really know these people like that either. But it wasn't until I got to that event, and I'll never forget that the theme for that weekend was flip the script. And there
Mm.
were so many misconceptions of what it meant to really be a Christian, what
Oh.
it looked like to walk out your faith.
Yeah.
And when I saw the side of the misconceptions, I was like,
Yeah.
wait, this is me.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I've been doing for a bulk of my life.
Yeah.
And then there was the other side of this is what it actually looks like to exercise your faith, to walk hand in hand. And it doesn't mean it's, like this perfect thing that's
Yeah.
taking place, but to even have awareness of when you're falling short, to understand what it looks like to be convicted, to be led to repentance. And so having that encounter really gave me I guess a new understanding and a new hunger and a new thirst for the word of God, and how I wanted to see it played out in my life.
Yeah, but I feel like what I saw was a little rare which was a little rare to see. And at that time, I had been around a lot of people kind of in that campus ministry for maybe like a couple years. But what I thought was rare about you was you already came in with this deep hunger for God. Like, so even though you were flipping the script, you were hungry for those misconceptions. You
Yes.
didn't know they were misconceptions. You were hungry for them. So you already came in with a lot of depth that naturally translated once you kind of got your lens focused right. So it
Hmm.
was like, because you had been around it so much. So maybe explain kind of like how that hunger for God, even though what was being presented to you were the misconceptions, not necessarily 1,000% accurate. Like, how did that, you know, because once you found out the real truth and or got it aligned properly, you desired the mush. Like, let me get the mush. Let me get as much mush. I need
Yeah,
mush
I
because
need
I
some
haven't
mush.
I haven't been getting
Spoon
fed the
feed
real
me.
I haven't been getting fed the real food. So I will literally choke on the word. So it's like you even had that self-awareness, like I need this, but I need it take me back to my reading level on the subject
Right,
so that I can process it. Like, because it's almost like you like Shakespeare, you can read thou that, but I can't understand what this is saying
right.
because it's not. I got to go to the reading level. I need it broken down in the fashion I need it. So like, but talk about like that hunger that you had for God, even when it was misconception, and how that naturally spilled over into.
Well, I think I can go back to I don't know, I might have been 7 or 8, and you're going to all these Bible studies, and because how church was laid out for us, we had church on Sunday, we had like Bible study on Wednesday, we had like a choir practice that, they started with it. So there were all these different moments where I was hearing bits and pieces of the word, and I had a lot of questions. And I had like this burning desire for these questions to be answered. Now, I am a person who's super analytical. And so sometimes maybe the questions that I was asking, like they didn't know how to give me the response in an age appropriate way, but it was just like my processor of how I processed and took in information and like, oh, well, what about this? And I'm trying to break things apart. So I can recall like having this burning desire to know more, to understand more, because the Bible is intense and there's all these cross references, and you need to be able to really know what happened before the actual scripture you're reading, what happened afterwards to be able to put it in proper context. And so there were times where I had a lot of questions and a burning desire, but it was like I couldn't get my itch fixed.
Mm,
Um, and that was not because, there weren't always people around, but sometimes I didn't know how to articulate what I was trying to understand so that they could actually meet me exactly where I was. Or there's conflicting messages that happen. And when you're not maturing your faith, when you're trusting individuals who've walked life out before you, then you're like, okay, well, this says this, but then they're pairing it with this. Like, whose voice become louder? Does the voice of God becomes louder, or the
mm,
people who are around you? And when you're not familiar with God's voice, then the people that you know and trust, those voices become louder. And so there's this tug of war of information that's taking place. And so if I go back, I can remember those tender ages where those things were there and I kind of had this desire, but I didn't know how to put myself in um I guess the proper atmospheres or ask the right questions or how to really get the mush to be able to have like that life transformation where it's like, oh, wait, I don't want to live in religion. I actually want to live in relationship.
mm,
And so once I kind of got plugged in with campus outreach, like before then, I was going to a church when I was at undergrad, and um, it's called Kingdom Life. And I remember Pastor Glasper like actually sitting with me and like
mm,
taking in my questions. And that was like the first time where I was starting to get like a little bit deeper
yeah,
clarity and
clarity. Yeah,
understanding, where I was like, wait, like I've probably been doing or taking the wrong approach to this.
yeah,
And so there was an opportunity where they wanted to kind of like partner and walk hand in hand with like, let me help you
yeah.
understand. Now, fast forward, left Holly Springs and wasn't able to, continue that relationship in the context of, how they were sitting with me on a weekly, whether it was, Bible study or, after church and things of that nature. But then fast forward getting to Arkansas State and being super plugged in with campus ministry, I think there were people just all around ready to answer your questions because they have intentional ways of plugging people on campus who's
Yeah.
actually pursuing you, who actually, I don't want to say discern where you are in your walk, but they can kind of, after having a couple conversations with you, kind of see where you are and
Yeah.
see, where you probably need to go. And so I think with taking some things from my childhood, taking some things from that young adulthood that was kind of taking place, and then having that encounter
Yeah.
with
Flipping the script.
being able to flip the script, I'm like, oh, wait, now some of the things that have been like wrestling internally
Yeah.
are starting to make sense where,
Yeah.
I have these questions and I'm not able to connect all the dots. The
Yeah.
dots were able to start to be connected at that point.
Yeah. No, that's what I love about this show because for people to see how raw this is, like the whole time you're talking, I'm having like a revelatory moment. Um, and I'll talk because the questions that you have remind me of our oldest daughter. And so though I didn't know you as a kid, I can see you in our youngest
Mm,
daughter because she has this hunger, she has this thirst for God, and she's always asking these questions that are really challenging.
very challenging.
And
She
now
likes to
I
challenge me
think
from time
I
to
think
time.
people will you're not scratching the itch. Like she's asking a question, and it's like I need this question answered to move on to the next step. But I mean, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, and she'll be on the show for you guys later in the season, so you guys stay tuned for that. But um, I just think like what you're talking about is so important because we're talking about like how our faith began in our childhood, like
Hmm.
way before we entered in a relationship with Christ. And so it's like as parents, you get to expedite that process based on what conversations. And so what you just helped me realize is as a father, it's vital to help her get the right answers and point her to truth. But
Hmm.
also, when I don't know the answer, don't try to make her think that I know the answer because she's just taking my word for it.
Right.
Actually, help her connect with God to get the answer so we can go on that journey
Yes.
together. And it helps her put God in the proper perspective and not necessarily adults always have the answers or I don't think that's right, but people trying to convince me that's right.
Right.
It's like don't try to scratch the itch for her necessarily, like just trying to give her the answer so that, it's like as a parent, your kid has a question, you want to answer it. You want to make sure you give them everything that they need. And sometimes you don't have that.
Right.
Like
You don't always have it.
God is
I don't.
calling,
I'm like, go ask your daddy.
most people don't pull themselves out of the way. Like, it's like God created a direct line to himself through Jesus. Like we can help you along the journey, but he's calling you to himself. He's not
Right.
calling you to us. And so you just helped me. That
Well,
was
I'm glad. I'm
revelatory.
glad I could help you. I'm glad
But
I
people
can.
probably wanted to have that. You probably would ask, because I mean, like we've been walking this journey for a while. Our daughter asks questions about the Bible that are deep, deep.
Daily.
I'm like, this girl 12 years old, like the questions that she asks and what she's wrestling with internally are deep concepts. Like I'm like, most adults haven't unpacked this, honey.
But
And
I
so we'll
think
talk about that later. But
that speaks to um just how what she's been exposed to at her age and how that looks different
yeah,
than, what we were exposed to by her age. And some of that is because going back to now churches have,
yep,
you know, things that break things down age appropriate,
yeah,
and they're inviting them into different, whether it's life groups or Bible studies or things of that nature. But then too, with having parents who are able to go back to like, what did I miss when
yeah,
I was that age, and how can I um almost speak to little me
yeah,
and expose her to things that was probably needed that I wasn't able to communicate
yeah.
because I didn't have the exposure or the life experiences to be able to advocate for that. And so,
You can't go past that.
what-
How do you talk to the younger you? Like we have our kids, and I know we got a section when we'll get to where we're talking about that, but how do you talk to the younger you,
well, I think
which
what
is your
was
5 girls, 5 of 'em. Got a lot of younger yous
a
out there.
lot of younger me's running around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
Um, with talking to younger me, it's really sitting with what was happening in my life internally, not just externally, because it's easy to for people to be able to know what was on the surface. But people don't always know what you're warring with mentally and emotionally. And so when I'm warring with a younger version of myself, I'm trying to go back to not just, I'm thinking back to what was happening on the outer layers of me, were things that people could actually see. But then I'm trying to tap back into what was I thinking
Mm,
and why?
mm,
What was I feeling and why? Because now when I'm going back those layers deep, I'm able to see some of those things show up in how I'm doing day to day life, whether it's something good or bad, how
yeah.
I'm responding to certain things, how I'm putting practical things in place with how I'm making decisions, how I'm angered or raged or
Yeah.
whatever those things
Hmm.
are. And so with going back, it kind of gives me an opportunity to sit with me back then and now,
Hmm.
ask questions, journal, write those things down, and then establish a plan that I think will be beneficial with how I'm dealing with all these now
Yeah.
younger versions of me that
Yeah.
I do life with on a daily.
Yeah. No, that's strong. I like that. I think you do a great job with that. You do a lot of internal processing. Um, and
Probably
self
too much sometimes.
and self reflect. No, I no,
Probably a little,
because
little too much of self
you
reflecting.
can't say I don't agree with that. I think maybe feels like a lot, but that's y- being a lot is a good thing. Like who wants a little of something good? They want a lot of it.
On a
It's
lot
like,
of it, a
and that
lot
and
of
the
the
way that
good
God has
stuff.
made you is good. And I think like you're just a older version of our children who kind of have a lot going on inside.
Yeah.
And that's cool because those questions started then. They were all
A
it's just
lot of them
all that
started then.
wrestling was then, and it's interesting just to see that dynamic being played out.
So I guess now that we're kind of talking about the kids and how we're seeing younger versions of ourselves like show up, and how we're exposing them to things that our parents exposed us to, but also how we're incorporating some things that are different just because times have changed. Let's go into how has our faith walk and how we journey through life really, how's that reflected, I guess, in how we parent and how we make decisions for our children, for our family, how we, really shape and mold them to be able to launch them out into the world on a daily.
Well, I think that most people see like the faith element with us. They see the the homeschooling. They
Yeah.
see like people coming at home like we don't parent our kids the same as maybe the way that we were raised or the way that most people kind of parent. It's like probably like a hybrid of gentle parent and like helicopter parent at the same time.
I'm a
Um,
helicopter mom.
it's
I know
like
that about
we
myself.
we, we gently helicopter. you know,
Is that a thing?
like yeah,
Can you
these
gently
slow swirling propellers. Like,
Okay. Well,
um, but I think when you think of like kind of what we're up against or what we fight, that's probably what most people don't know. It's hard. It's
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 super
very
hard.
challenging. It's costly. It's not passing it off to somewhere else. It's like we own it. It's like we signed up for this thing very early, like before it was kids, like it was us. And it was like I was mentoring one of my guys earlier just today, and I was talking to him about he's getting thinking about getting married, and he's probably at the second phase. And I kind of broke this thing down. I think it was a little bit of Holy Spirit, a little bit of man in there, but I was saying like most people want to enter relationships because I think you got to start with the marriage dynamic before you get to the kids. Most people get stuck at the physical phase. We're physical, we're mental and emotional, and then we're spiritual. Most people get stuck at the top. The physical is like I like this individual. They look good to me. Like they're appealing. Like I feel good when I'm with them. They get stuck there. That's where the lust enters. That's where all
Mm.
of that enters, and they get stuck right there. And it's like people have all these different relationships based on the physical. Then there's the emotional and the mental, just the soul level. Like I really feel like I love this person. Like this person brings me joy. This person puts all these good feelings in me. Like I can't describe it, but it's just this magical feeling that I feel with this
Mhm.
person. This is the Hollywood love phase. And most people, this is about the depth that they really get to before they decide, most people get to this phase and they go ahead and jump the gun. This is even well-meaning Christians, and this is the love phase. This is how people say, I was in love with this person and I fell out of love with them. Like they get stuck there.
Good luck finding a person that won't.
Yeah, that's what most people get to. But the third level, and this is what I was telling him, I was like, when I was 23, I got married at 23. I didn't solve this part at the beginning. I solved it while I was going through. And so that you rather do it pre-trial, you rather not learn in trial or through trial.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the spiritual covenant of a relationship. When you enter a spiritual covenant with a relationship, you're already in a spiritual covenant with God once you accept and call him into your life. You're in a spiritual covenant with him. That means my life is no longer my own, it's yours. Every decision I make after this point, you get to lead it. You tell me where I'm going. I've surrendered over my rights. I've given you my life. That's what that means. I'm in a covenant with you. So no longer do I get to decide what I'm going to do with my life. I can't take that back without there being severe consequences. At the same time, the person that you're entering they are in a covenant with the Lord. And you better enter with somebody who's under a covenant as well, because they can change their mind anytime. But when you're standing on covenant, that's a different level with different ramifications. Now, when you enter a covenant together, that's binding. That's with the Lord. And so anytime you go against the things that were agreed upon in that covenant, it's going to have serious spiritual ramifications.
True.
Not just the things, what you see in the earthly realm, it may be a lot. Just imagine it being 10x to 100x that in the spiritual realm. It has significant consequences. And yes, Jesus can redeem it all, but it has ramifications. And he can restore, but those spiritual ramifications are serious. And so you have to take that level. And most people don't do that on the front end. They don't figure out, and that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But I also think when people are trying to figure out things on the front end, they have to humble themselves and put themselves in a position to be able to hear when people are trying to either bring these things to their attention, or they have to hear things like this and then seek. So if nobody's bringing it to you, how do I go out and seek these things? And because I'll talk to people and, they're telling me they're going through, pre-engagement counseling or marital counseling and things like that. And, they're like, oh, what would you say in this situation? I was like, well, let's back up. First, my goal would be before you get married, before you start a family, before you become spiritually responsible for not just yourself or in partnership with another individual, but you're bringing little people into the fold too.
Yeah.
My goal is going to be to break you up. And they're like, oh, what? You
Yeah. They think it's a game.
Like,
they think it's a
yes,
game.
my goal would be to break you up because I want to go so deep. It goes back to that analytical part of me, that social, emotional, wanting to pull back all the layers and get clarity there. I want to go back so deep that you understand yourself so much before you go in to try to understand and or collaborate with another person to do life. And so when you know yourself to a certain magnitude, you're able to pull and reach to see how well another individual knows themselves.
Yeah.
To then see, like, would we be good together or would we be great together? Do we want to be together or are we called and assigned to be together? Because those things look different.
Yeah.
And when you get that clarity and you're willing to go that deep to understanding you, to understanding the person that you're saying that you love and you want to spend the rest of your life with, it's going to pull out so much that when you're saying yes, then you have something to go back to when things get rocky or things get challenging, especially when you're responsible for leading a family and all these different people who are gonna, come after you, because now you're responsible for them, not just for what they eat and drink and where they live, but you're responsible for being able to raise them up in a way that is honoring to the Lord, because they're not yours, they're his. And so he's called you to steward them. But you have to be properly aligned with him and properly aligned with the individual that you're doing life with in order to properly not steward just them, but steward your relationship with each other and your relationship with the Lord.
Yeah, I love that. Like, because now people are getting a chance to see the work. Like,
it's a lot of work.
This the front end work.
It's a lot of work.
We're not even at the battle
it's
yet.
It's
a lot of work. No, I'm gonna pull that strand a little bit deeper, because I want you to talk to the people. You said two things. Number one, you got to humble yourself, because you got to be willing to take that information in, because we're talking about work. People like, oh, I don't need that.
You need it.
Yeah. So I want you to go deeper here. So pull that string of what the humility to take that in, but then you took the information in. Now you got to go seek and sit. You got to go seek the Lord, and you got to go sit with what he's going to do internally to reveal to who you are, to reveal to who your potential spouse is. Like, you got to go sit and seek. So first you got to take it in, but then you got to go sit and seek, or seek if no one has brought that to you, because you're hearing it now. So it's been brought to you, but go deeper.
So I think when you're sitting with yourself, one of the things that I've learned is people, they use this term transparent, authentic, but then there's a deeper level, which is vulnerability. And a lot
Ooh.
of times people aren't able to be
Ooh.
vulnerable with other people because they don't know how to first be vulnerable with themselves, which
Ooh.
means you have to ask yourself very, very complicated questions.
Okay.
And
let me
you
sit
have
up.
to be able to answer them, not from a place of emotion or from a place of what you desire to be or to become or what you want the situation to look like, but
Mhm.
you have to be able to say, like, what am I actually thinking and feeling, and why?
Yeah.
Why is that? What emotion is in place that's putting blinders on where I'm like, I'm running past all the red flags,
Yeah.
because I want something so bad.
Yeah.
And when you want something so bad and you're not sitting with yourself, you're not asking questions, you're not taking it in, you're not putting yourself in situations where you can be held accountable, where you're
Yeah.
not surrounding yourself with people who are going to be your yes people,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be able to pull back those layers to one, get to know you
Yeah.
before you then go and get to know another
Be
person,
willing to be truthful with yourself, whether you like it or not.
whether you like it or not. Like, there's some things that I have to sit with myself and be like, ooh, that's ugly. Like,
Mm.
don't say that out loud.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just going. Then I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I want to write it in my journal.
Oh, that
Somebody,
ugly. You don't even want to write it down. Ooh.
somebody find my journal. They be
Yeah.
like, ugh. And
But it's the
so,
truth.
but it's the
It's the
truth.
truth.
And so
I
you
just
have
don't like it, but I know it's
just
the
don't
truth.
like
Yeah.
it, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
don't want to put myself so far up on a pedestal where I'm not being able to be brought down. Because if I put myself up there, then I'm putting myself on a level with God. And it's like, at some point, you'll try to become the God of your own life
Ooh.
when you're not willing to humble yourself, when
Yeah.
you're not willing to listen to wisdom, when you're not able to see the ugly parts of you and see how far away you are from him. And
Yeah.
so you never want to put yourself in a position to become the God of your own life,
Yeah.
because you can be running for God, and the God that you're running for is yourself. And some of what you're doing mimics the God that you should be running for.
Yeah. And so, like, literally, like, that's phase one work. And many people
It's
miss, and you're gonna have to come back to the work.
You have
Like,
to
it's
come
like
back to the work.
getting college credits. Like, you're gonna be tested on the class. So if you turn it down now and do another, you got to come back before you can get your degree.
You have to come
And
back.
so, like, that's what I want people to understand. So, like, when we talk about like raising our kids or what they don't, everything we do all this because it comes with a cost. Like, we're in covenant. Like, we're under covenant. It's a way that we have to raise our kids. It's a way, and we're doing it's not what we're saying is perfect. This is our conviction of how God wants us to live it out. And so we try our best to do that. But it's understanding that what we're trying to do is to glorify him. So that's what we don't have time on the show to go through everything, but that's where the homeschooling comes from. That where the parenting comes from. That's where the hard decisions and us, maybe wanting to yell or scream in moments, but slowing down. It's like we're using that restraint because we're chasing something much deeper. And we've only gotten to this place because of the work that's gone into it, but we're even doing the work because of what we're standing on.
And I also think I want to make sure I hit on this, because sometimes living that out gets challenging and it gets complicated.
Oh, yes.
And sometimes you have different stumbling blocks that happens in your individual or collective
Yes.
faith walk. And so that's why it's important, when you know the way that you want to raise and steward your family,
Yeah.
that you co-create that, but you also invite other trusted voices in,
Yeah.
so that when you're going through a spiritual hardship,
Yep.
and there are moments where I can speak for myself where it's like, I believe,
Yeah.
but it's hard. Like, it gets hard sometimes to walk out
Yeah.
what you actually believe.
Yeah.
But even in my disbelief,
Yep.
I've found ways to still believe, which means I may not be able to be the full sounding voice, or when my kids have certain questions, I have to be able, it's again, sit with myself and be like, you know what? I am not in the right spiritual place to be able to answer this question in a way I want you to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me point you to a direction where it's a trusted voice that's standing on the principles that we founded this family on.
Yeah.
And so I think understanding that, because faith gets tricky sometimes. It gets wobbly sometimes,
Yeah.
and you're going to walk through different seasons where it looks weird, but you have to find ways to believe in your disbelief, and you have to find ways to stand firmly on what you're building your family legacy on, um and have accountability in
Yeah.
those areas. And I keep saying accountability because that's so important. And
Absolutely.
you have to have the two of you holding each other accountable, allowing the kids to respectfully hold you accountable, but
Yep.
you also have to invite outside,
Yeah.
trusted,
Yes.
wise individuals
Yep.
to do life alongside you.
Yep. No, girl, there's so many themes in there. It's so many themes that you can pull on: vulnerability, accountability, obstacles that you're gonna face along the way. And just know that the only thing that we want to say is it's possible.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's
possible.
it's possible. And it's it's not easy. Um, it's a lot of work. The more work you do on the front end, the not that there won't be work, but the smoother the work is in
There's
between.
always going to be work.
There's always
Always.
gonna be work.
But I don't
And
think people do enough on the front end.
you do more. You want to front load the work, because if you back load the work, that it becomes more and more uphill. But I think it just comes down to, the Bible talks about building your house on rock, and what he's saying is, you build on my covenant and you operate in line with my covenant, the easier your road is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're going to stand through the storms, and the more you build on false covenants, these false ideas. Don't build on Hollywood love. Don't build on your own rule for ways of parenting your children. Don't build on your own ways of dealing with conflict. Build everything on the word of God, because that's the thing that's going to keep you out of trouble, but it's also going to be the thing that gets you back aligned when you get in trouble. But you want to be standing on that, because there are two types of trouble. There's hardships that just come from life that are there to test you and make you stronger. But there are also troubles that you invite on your own life.
Yes.
And you don't have to go through those.
And those are a lot harder.
And a lot harder. And though you be redeemed, they still have consequences. You just look at the life of Joseph, study the life of Joseph, and study the life of Samson. Both of them had major promises on their life. Both of them went through hardships. One of them was self-brought on. The other one was just hardships of life. And they both were ultimately restored and redeemed, but the end of it looked different. And you just study those if you hadn't studied.
So you mentioned like not building things on, Hollywood or, like the media or what's, hype in the moment. And so some of the things that we implement into how we steward our children is, I mean, it could be controversial, it could be something that's countercultural. And so I want to hit on some of those things that we do. Um, that may be different. Some of it may be, traditional for Christian families, but when you look at different things like holidays, like Halloween and Christmas, and some of the things we agree on, some of the things
Yeah.
we're finding like a happy medium.
Yep.
Or when we look at like screen time and social media, like
Yep.
so for our kids, what's your take on social media?
Internet, person to person interaction doesn't happen with our kids. So like our kids, um, the only social media that they do is YouTube. I guess you could say they do Roblox, but they can't talk to other kids. But we're very minimal with what we allow them to do. And like, it's like YouTube is typically reserved for weekends and small amounts of time.
And a pre-approved list
Very
of
much a pre-approved
things.
list. It has to be
But
on
you
the
can't. I mean, I think the tricky part with YouTube is like all the I think it's the things
Yeah, you
that
can swipe to, and now
swipe
it's all the
to
little side
and all
strolls.
those
So
side strolls, and
it's
so
hard to guard. Yeah,
it's a little bit harder, which is why I'm trying to limit that even more
yeah,
to like the pre-approved list. But I think the other thing where I'm seeing like a lot of different kids, they're on um I don't know, all the social channels. Snapchat, is that something?
Snapchat.
Snapchat. I learned about TikTok recently. I
Yep.
recently got a TikTok.
Okay.
Y'all
Hey,
follow me on
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah. Follow.
uh, TikTok. I have to have somebody running all these things for me. Instagram, Facebook. Like there are all these different things that they're exposed to. They're aware of. I mean, they know we have these things. But some of their friends have some of these
Yep.
accounts, and so my rule has been they can't have them till they're 18. I mean,
Yep.
that's the day that may change. But as of now, like I just feel like I see where adults struggle
Yeah.
with social media and I
Absolutely.
see how it impacts them sometimes on a positive note, sometimes not so positive. And so I don't think children, my kids' age especially, are emotionally mature enough and responsible enough to be able to have all of these social media outlets that they have freedom and flexibility to navigate on their own.
Yep. No, I think the premise of it is why we make these controversial decisions is not that this is the way that you have to do it, or we're saying, hey, you're wrong if you don't do it this way. We're right because we do it this way. I think the principle and responsibility is protection and guardianship.
Mhm.
Like, ultimately, we're all called to guard our hearts. We are called to guard our eyes, guard our ears. Those are the things that go, those are what, are channels to our heart. And kids don't know how to guard their hearts. And
Yeah.
so as parents, we're responsible for guarding their hearts. And so everything that we do, every decision that we make, regardless of screen time, that's what homeschooling is very big for us and how we do
So
that.
so
It's
so
about guarding and
homeschooling.
protecting. Yeah.
So homeschooling. I think that's one of the questions we get asked, and I mean now we have kids who are actually interested in going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your take on why we decided to
Mm-hmm.
homeschool. That's sometimes frowned upon, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
not. And then what does it look like to possibly transition some of those kids who are interested into a full day school environment? Um, I think it's one of those things where you want to shelter and protect your kids from everything, and learning that the real world is the real world, and you can only shelter them from so much. And so having exposure and experiences outside of what's our norm of their little ecosystem internally, but it's also like teaching and training them how to respond to those things. And
Mm-hmm.
so give me just a little bit on your take on homeschool, and how are you feeling now that there is possibly a transition that's going to take place.
Yeah, I think that's an emotional experience, especially the transition. It's like seeing your kids. I guess for us, it's like seeing your kids go off to college. It's like they leaving the house or leaving the nest for the first time. But no, I think the reason for homeschooling was just to be able to guard the lens of our kids. Like we wanted them to see the world from a biblical worldview. Like the Bible says, "As for me and my house, we serve the Lord." And it's like we don't want the world to tell you how to see the world. We want you to see the world from God's lens, and that's what we believe we're raising in our household. And so we need time on task to do that. Like if we're teaching you the word at home, but you're spending 8 hours a day in another domain and it's not teaching the word, and we know all the different things that are being taught in schools these days, it's like we have to unteach to teach.
Hmm.
And so it's like we didn't want to do that until they had a frame of reference. The mind is so malleable for kids, especially up to the age of 7. Like you can set a precedent scientifically for what your kids will become in the world based on what you're telling them up until the age of 7. And it's
Yeah.
like, man, we got 4 kids now that are crossing that threshold. We got one that's about to be 7, and then we only got 2 more after that with that most malleable stance. And so it's like, man, what are we affirming them in every day? What are we talking about with them every day? Having a conversation with our 6-year-old today, and she was talking about she's getting her prosthetic. Everybody knows about Carly Faith and her eye. She was saying, at camp, because they still go to camp and they still interact with other kids and stuff like that. She was like, I wanted to chase this girl who was being mean to me. I was going to take my eye out and chase her.
Oh
And,
gosh.
and I was like, no, we don't be mean, to people who being mean to us. And she was like, "Yeah, I know." And she's already conscious of. I said, "Why don't we be mean to people, or why are people being mean?" And it was like they could have a mommy or daddy who's mean to them, or they just may be hurt, or they may just be sad,
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yes," and I was like, and I had a conversation with her earlier. And I said, "We remind people who they are by telling them positive things, not negative things." And and she was just like, she's like, "That's what I told her." I said, "You're not really mean. You're nice." And then the girl told me that she was only being mean because somebody had been mean to her. And so I was like, look at you,
Interesting.
girl. So you don't get that many conversations, that many interactions, or when you're having those moments, you're having to unpack so much stuff. Like that may be one experience on a day of school. It may be 10 to 12 of them. And by the time you get to dinner, you don't have time to unpack all that with 6 kids,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, man, how much is happening that you don't get the chance to interact and set the lens? Whereas like now we have two of our more advanced kids kind of getting ready to make the decision for themselves. Are they ready to go out? They already have a lens of how to view the world to where when things approach them, they already kind of have a sorting bucket.
Mm-hmm.
This is things that we rock with, this is things that we don't rock with. And that's going to help them exponentially.
Yeah, I think it's going to help them in so many different areas of life. And so when we think about, I guess, gentle parent, is that
Yeah,
like the
we're hybrid.
name
We're
of
hybrid. That's,
hybrid
we're not full gentle
helicopter
parents.
gentle
We'll
parenting?
still we'll still pull a kid over in the corner and be like, "Hey, get it together."
Need you to get it together. Um, how has, I guess, the spiritual or faith lens played into the gentle helicopter parenting? What did you call it? Slow swirling
Yeah,
something.
slow swelling propeller. Like we gentle helicopter. And I think the helicopter is the firmness. Like we keep our kids in kind of like stricted bounds. Like because our job is to guard them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our job is to protect them. So they just can't do whatever, and we're just gonna try to coach them through. Like no, it's like it's a fence over there. Like you're not going past a certain point. But
Right.
inside the fence, our job is to shepherd you. It's not to control you. And so that's what the gentle parenting side of it is like we're gonna be understanding. Like try to figure out where you are and we're gonna coach you and walk with you. We're not gonna put a lid on you. Like you are God's. And so we're discovering you
Mm-hmm.
just as much as you're discovering yourself. Like we don't get to tell you who to be. Like your job is not to be Tamela Davis. Your job is not to be Demario Davis. And so we have to discover who Bailey Grace is. We have to discover
Yeah.
who Roman Parker is. We have to discover who Summer Joy is, Carly Fade, Stormy Love, Story James. Shout out to Hopi May and Mercy Junes, our dogs. They're not left out. But
We need to baptize them
they,
in the pool.
they like, we gonna be who we gonna be. I'm just gonna tell you now. But so with our kids, it's like a discovering journey. So we have to give them room to grow into who they are called to be. And we don't get to tell them who that is. And it's like, oh, you like this. Okay, I thought you kind of like that. And it's like, okay, well, let's go down that journey together. I don't know nothing like Roman. He loves Pokemon. Like, like for me, I had all now I gotta kind of repent for all the Pokemon people that I just kind of put over to the side. Like, man, that's the Pokemon group. You know what I mean? It's like, well, now like, that's a
You
whole.
got a
I got a
Pokemon
Pokemon dude in the house. Like,
Pokemon, somebody in the group.
somebody trying to tell me
You
about
about
this
to have a
card.
Pokemon conference at your house.
I can't name not one except Pikachu, and I
That's the
don't have the
only one I
stamina to
know.
learn. It's rough. But, it's like, okay, well, let's go down this journey together because it's a part of who you are. It's connected to your end game. Like, and so it's like, it's cool, it's scary. And as a parent, even as like our kids are very mature and they're going out into the world and they like, we have a soon to be fifth grader and a soon to be seventh grader and they kind of enter in the world and like, hey, they think they're ready to go to school. We think they're ready. That's still a scary
I
space.
don't know.
That's what I'm saying. You kind of
I'm
sit on the
not
fence. You're like,
ready.
I feel like they're ready. Maybe they're not ready.
I'm
Maybe
not ready.
I'm not.
I'm not
We're
ready.
not ready.
I'm not.
They're ready,
I
but
would
we're
keep
not
them at
ready.
home forever.
Yeah. And that's gonna be seasons and phases of life. And that's the part that's emotional and real and that's not perfect. It's not cookie cutter.
No, it's not. But I think you also have to be able to trust that your voice and the voice of God will be louder than the voice of the outside world. And so, although they'll probably be in some private Christian environment, that doesn't mean that now I just wash my hands. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
I have to be intentional about making sure that those conversations are still taking place. I have to be intentional about making sure that I'm not just entrusting that the word that they're getting at school is the word and not going deep into deeper layers at home. Have to make sure that there are still questions that's being asked and there's a safe place because still I'm primarily responsible. And you have to be hopeful that what you've taught for so many years and what you will continue to teach will overpower different things that they're exposed to, and that they're getting reps at putting those things that they're exposed to, putting the things that they've learned into practice
Hmm.
as they're being, you know, out in the world and getting shown or exposed to all these different things.
Yeah, I think this is an entrepreneurship principle, but it's like the employee, the manager, the owner. It's like the employee is the one that's doing all the work, run around managing, is kind of on site overseeing everything, and the owner has delegated the responsibility, but has to keep the compass and the navigation. So the farther you send your kids out in the world, the more internal it becomes. So the employee, they just kind of following the instructions. Just our kids, they know the rules in the house. They just follow them and growing inside the space. Like as managers, where we've been with our kids operating in our oversight, it's like just kind of course correcting. You can kind of see everything. As an owner, you have to have the foresight. So you got to spend a lot more time in wisdom, prayer. It's all internal. It's like as we send our kids out, the more work you have to do. The owner's not doing less work. He's doing more work, but it's more internal. It's not manual labor. It's more so as our kids kind of go out away from us, the deeper our prayers got to be, the more wise we got to be, because those conversations, we have to ask the right questions. We have to have the right insight that can go a long way. It's like how do a owner that's running 100 business keep it on track? He has to say the right things in the right meetings with a little time that sends the ship down the right path, which requires so much self-reflecting, internal dialogue. It's a lot more work. So it's not like, oh, we just get to pass this off to teachers. Like, no, the more on guard you got to be when your
Yeah.
kids are outside the house.
And I think you also have to be reminded that there's an owner over the owner and the employee.
Come on now. That's it.
And
that's who we're
so-
submitting to. That's
and
ultimately who
that's-
you're entrusting.
that's ultimately
Go deeper
who
on that.
you're- I mean, it's one of those things where I keep saying this, but it's stewarding. So we have to be able to understand that at the end of the day, we have to do our part. That's not to be like, oh, they God's and just leave it. It's like, no, He's entrusted us to be able to do our part, but they're His before they're
Mhm.
ours. And so to understand that and to move in a way that we have we have all of these things that we're doing to shape and mold them and to oversee, but also giving them back to Him in our prayers and sending them back to Him so that they can understand that their connection, it should be deeper with Him than it is with us.
Word.
So let's hit on holidays really quick.
Okay, holidays. We compromise on one holiday slightly. Christmas is our favorite. Well, I wouldn't say favorite, but we handle Christmas right. You've always been big on Christmas. Like, I think you do a great job. This girl,
Santa or no Santa?
we do Santa. We do Santa.
But we do Santa. Who's Santa? I feel like this is where we kind of go where
Mama and Daddy Santa. We just don't make that explicitly known all the time. But
I tell
she
them
be trying to be.
Santa is a character.
Yeah.
It's like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
So because I don't like some of the things around. I don't know. He knows when you're sleeping and I mean
Yeah.
that's just a little creepy to me. Anyhow, I'm like, who's this guy? But I think it's also like if you're not careful,
Yeah.
like if you don't explain it in a way where you're allowing them to enjoy
Yeah.
the holiday,
Yeah.
but not giving like Santa this same weight or whatever. I don't know. It
I know
sounds
what you're saying.
it kind of sounds like you're making him similar to Guy, like
Yep,
with some
yep.
of the things that you're saying that he's capable
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
And so I like to, like have the fun, but kind of like
Yeah.
draw the line in the sand at the same time.
I love it. Is because you don't want to discourage imagination. You want kids to dream, but it's kind of like, like a lot of like TV shows, and you don't want them to live in a fantasy either. They need to know the truth.
Yes.
And so it's like, I don't want to kill your imagination and your ability to dream, but I also want you to know the truth and being able to separate a dream world versus the real world and what's actually happening. And so, yeah, I think I agree with that 1,000%. We like to dress up and do the Santa and
Yeah,
Hopefully our
Stormy's
kids
like,
not
you,
watching this.
oh my God. No, well, Stormy Love, she was
Oh
like, you
yeah.
were Mrs. Claus, huh?
Oh, our last baby, number 6. So we'd have been doing this tradition every year, and our youngest said no more. She was traumatized when Daddy
She's
came out as Santa.
like, no.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, I ain't put that suit back on, baby. It ain't that serious. She the first one. The first time we came out of
She
character.
was screaming.
That was the
We had
first
to
time we
pull it
came
off.
out.
Like,
Yeah.
let me take the wig off. And
Yeah. So holidays, Easter is always big. Our thing is making sure that at Christmas we're celebrating the birth of Jesus, the gift that came into the world that was the light, and then that none of it means anything Easter without the resurrection. And so people can feel how they feel about the holidays and the pagan side of it and all that, but for us, it's just making sure that we use everything that seems good or bad to glorify God. And so we make sure that we contextualize it all with scripture, bringing it back aligned with truth, like goes back to us being on a covenant and making sure that we're living that way. And so we try to ground it in that. It's not always, sometimes it's kind of clunky, sometimes it's smooth. And then Halloween is the one that, I appreciate you because I know how you feel about Halloween, but you are willing to put a lot of parameters around it just because of, I think it's much more convicting to me than it is to you.
well, okay, so it's because I was exposed to like some people like they grew. I mean, I guess you were too, but
Yeah.
I mean, you had your things, but Halloween and Christmas were my favorite holidays before I had like this, huge encounter with the word. And so, like, I always had Halloween parties and like all these different things, especially like when I was in college, we always hosted like all of these big, we would theme them like the blackout. And it wasn't like always like scary things. It
Yep.
was just, one of those things where I loved dressing up as a witch previously.
Yeah.
It was just, I grew up in it. And
Yeah.
so, I had to really sit and meet on your
You
side
met on the side, yeah.
because I couldn't understand it, which I'm, now many years in, I've gained more clarity and understanding. But because it was something that was just a part of how I did life, I think that was the hardest
And I was
one for me.
non-judgmental to you too.
Yeah, you didn't judge me
And
too
yeah,
bad.
because I think the Bible talks about that, about like the strong Christian not despising the weak, and the weak not judging the strong. And so it may be a space where it's like, I'm not convicted by this. Like, I'm not making it out to be something that goes against God, or, it's like, and I don't feel that personal conviction because, it's like, it ain't in the Bible to say, don't celebrate Halloween. It's like, because you could kind of do that with all the holidays. And, it's just for a personal conviction. So I think you just did it on the love side. Like, well, he kind of feel a way about this. Like, it ain't nothing that I really want to argue about, and I'm willing to scrap it. But at the same time, if you would have not been willing to make adjustments, it wasn't like I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know, with my wife, she not following Christ because she want to celebrate Halloween. It wasn't like that. And so I think it's like those are real dynamics that just happen.
Those are real
And
dynamics.
so I appreciate you was willing to.
Yeah, and I
do
mean,
that.
we had to find ways to make it, I guess fun for the kids. There's all these fall fests and all these different things taking place, and so one of the things we do is lay out scripture. We would tape it on the candy, and we don't take our kids trick or treating, but we'll let them hand out candy.
And Halloween is huge in New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, it's so huge.
It's a big deal. Like, if you were gonna do Halloween, do it how they do it in New Orleans. They don't play around.
Oh gosh,
They
it's
do
so
Halloween.
big.
Yeah.
So we've learned how to accommodate. Like, okay, we're not coming out, but we'll give you guys candy with scripture on it. So that's been fun. Okay,
scripture
so
candy is so-
when you think about a parent who is trying to figure out like how do they want to best raise their children, in a way that's honoring to the Lord, where they're not compromising on anything they believe in, whether it's with dating, social media, school, holidays, and all the things that's have music, entertainment, concert. Like there's so much happening today that I think kids were exposed to that I don't even remember being exposed to, many years ago. What advice would you give them where they're trying to like go back and forth of like, do I give in to the world? Like I'm really trying to honor the Lord with how, we're raising this family. How do I not let the noise, the outside noise, or the voice of the world become louder than God's voice, and really be able to lay down those principles and not compromise them?
So yeah. So what I'll do, in respect for the time too. I'll get my final sip of tea. So this will be my. Can I do that?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
And I'll say a word. What I think people should do is you have to build your life on faith, faith in the Word of God. Get into a real relationship with God. Go to Him yourself. And it's good to find people that you respect, podcasts, and sermons, and pastors, and devotionals. There's a lot of ways that you can start going down that journey. But don't stop at a person. Don't stop at a group. Don't stop at, like, I really love this church. I really love this pastor. I really love this podcast.
Mhm.
Don't stop there. Like, it's getting you connected to your own journey, because you can't stand on principles of a man. You can't stand on, the themes of a community group. You can't stand on, these 5 points that you got in this good book. You have to stand on covenant with the Lord.
Mhm.
And when you're standing on those things, you're going to start building your life based on the principles of that covenant.
Right.
And it's like that's what I kind of say, like, all the stuff that we're talking about, these are just principles and convictions that we built on a covenant. Like, it's built on a relationship. It's built, the why behind what we're doing it is because it's God under there. And it's like, we're just trying to figure that out, what that looks like for us. And what you're going to figure out, like, the stuff that you figure out, it should align with scripture. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, this is just the way that we do it. No, it should still align with the Bible. So if somebody can point out in the scriptures where it's not aligning, you need to take that back before the man you saying you standing on. And that's the accountability piece.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's gonna be moments where you're gonna have something that's out of bounds. You gotta be truthful.
Be truthful.
And what you start to do is you build your life on that, and then you won't be swayed. You've already counted the cost. It's like, I'll sacrifice. I know I'm sacrificing to walk this way, but I understand what it's worth, and I'm not buying somebody else's worth. Like, I'm in a house that I know the worth of it myself, not because the pastor told me this, not because my community group told me it was worth it. I believe it's worth. I know it's worth. So I'm not willing to trade what the world is selling. And what comes from the world, it's going to be everything. It's going to try to sell you everything that you like, trying to get you to trade the cost. And the more you can stand on what you know, the less you'll be willing to trade it. But you also have to be able to be truthful.
Truthful.
Because you have
Be
to say,
truthful.
if you're truthful about what's trying to get you to trade or what's tempting you, it's like, I really want that more than I want to stand on this. As long as you acknowledge that, you can take it before God. And what He can do is
And
help
prayer
you.
partners and
Prayer partners, accountability,
accountability.
because that's what's going to help you realize that it's really a lie. It sounds good, but it's a lie. Whatever they selling, it's a lie. At the end of it, see, at the end of this, like, you paying a cost, but the value checks out. So it's like, yeah, you paying a cost right now, just it's an investment. So you investing right now so you can get a greater return later. What the lie is, it's telling you it's going to cost you something, but you're going to pay that price, but you're going to pay a bigger price in the end. So you're going to lose. So you're going to pay a price for temporary satisfaction, but it's going to cost you even more than what you're paying or what you're trading. And this is going to cost you something. It's going to trade you something, but it's going to give you even more. And that's what's going to help decipher every conversation that you run into. What is it going to cost me, and what am I going to get? And if it's the truth, you're good. If it's a lie, so build your life on that.
Build your life on the truth.
Build your life on the truth.
Not on a lie.
Not on the lie.
I love that. Okay, so you said you were going to give us your tea, so it could be something we know.
That was my final tea.
Oh, that was your tea?
Yeah, that's the behind the scenes.
Listen, the bishop.
That was my final tea.
His final tea. It was all truth. Listen, it was all about truth. That was his conviction. He built in his life on truth.
That's the behind the scenes. Like, I think what tea means to me, or based on kind of what you shared, is like what you don't see. What you don't see is, like, you see the man of God, you see the Christian, you see the family, but you don't see the hardships and how I'm able to endure through the adversity is because I'm standing on covenant. And that's what I would tell everybody is build yourself on covenant. Don't build it on your emotions. Don't build it on what you think is strength. Don't build it on something you read in a magazine. Build it on covenant.
I like my magazines, but I'm not going to build my life on
Don't even build it on a dream. Don't build it on a dream. I'm holding on to this dream. Build it on God. He's real. And that's going to solve it's gonna solve everything. It's not gonna mean it's gonna be perfect. Like, and I hope, and then I said it made it seem like my life is peaches and cream.
It
Because
is.
baby, it's not. It's not. It's not all peaches and cream. But what it is worth it. Everything I done paid to this point has been worth it.
Well, praise the Lord, saints. We just went to church today on this beautiful Wednesday. Bible study tonight. People can go to Bible study tonight. Okay, so my tea is gonna be actually. I'm gonna talk about my tea.
Come on, T.
Cause I drink tea. I'm a little raspy.
You
And
got
my
you got a
family.
health concoction for your.
Well, I drink this every day, and my family does not like my tea. They can smell it, and so they're like, "Oh, mommy got
It's
tea."
not the tea. It's one ingredient.
So, in my tea, I love to have peppermint, honey, lemon juice, and apple cider vinegar. But I also love reading the little note that's on the side because they're all like so full of inspiration. Did you know? You know, most of the time when you get tea,
I didn't know they had little positive notes on the
yes, it
side.
has little positive notes
All
on the.
tea has that?
Almost every brand that has one of these hanging out.
Oh, what does that say?
Let's see here. The plants have enough spirit to transform our limited vision. So I like to sip my tea and meditate.
Yeah, you really got to meditate on what that just said. I do not know what that means. My goodness. You gonna need a tall glass of tea to process that. When you get that, come back to me.
Sometimes they're light and fluffy. Sometimes they're deep for
That's
you to
very
reflect.
deep.
But I love being able to have my tea, inhale the flowers.
Whoever wrote that, I don't know
blowing
what kind of tea they was.
Oh gosh.
They was
Okay,
in a place.
let's disregard him. Okay, guys. So we're thrilled to
All
be back podcast.
We
Are
are.
you thrilled to be
I
back?
am. Oh my gosh.
And we'll see you on a few episodes. Some we'll kick you out of, but
Okay.
we're excited to have you. And this is officially the launch of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
We will have a new episode come out every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Every Wednesday, 5 p.m. 9 weeks of that. So you can do Apple. Where do you get your podcast from? I'm just interested. I do Apple Podcasts.
I do the podcast app.
That's on iPhone, right?
The
Apple?
purple app.
Yeah. Apple, Spotify, YouTube. We're in all the places. So people can download those things. And then you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook. And I have TikTok now. You got TikTok now. You can see all the behind the scenes things that's taking place in the Davis family household, the lives of the Davises.
We're on the purple app
Airport.
podcast, right? Yeah, that's the one
That's
I use.
Apple.
That's Apple Podcast.
I'm pretty sure
The
that's
purple app. Maybe it's just
Do you have an iPhone?
It just say podcast, but I guess because it's on the iPhone. Yeah.
You got Android.
Y'all see how far behind I am on technology? Oh my gosh.
So listen, we're on all those places. Now we're senior citizens trapped in like 30-year-old
Oh, that's the one that
bodies.
just comes with the phone. You don't even have to download that app. It just come with it, huh? That's just the base. Wow. Y'all don't do me like that. I'm really an unk out here.
Unk still got it.
Somebody come over here and help me with this.
Y'all, come, Summer Joy, come and help me download. My dad is right here.
Come help me download this podcast app.
Come help me download this podcast. And so, yeah, y'all check us out there. Follow us on social media. There's always something new. Y'all not gonna want to miss anything from this season. We got a lot of fun people coming, sharing a lot of tea. And we're just thrilled to be back.
Hey, excited.
Got anything else you want to say?
No, I'm just honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored to have you spend the day with me. Honored to have you open up first episode of season 2. Hopefully, I have my voice back by season 9. If not, y'all get
by season 9.
I mean, well, yeah, hopefully by season. If I still sound like this when we get to season 9, I may have to have a throat transplant or something. I don't know. Is that even a thing?
No, we don't even want to go down that road. Just leave that alone.
By the last episode, so y'all will hear me raspy for a few weeks, so that's cool. This tea's gonna fix it, and the deep thought card that came with it.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna still process that. What does that say? Like the plant's life.
I don't know. I'll let you read it.
Maybe
if you. I don't. Maybe if you read it,
Yeah,
it'll make
yeah.
sense. But thank y'all for joining us for another episode. Looking forward to seeing y'all again every Wednesday at 5. Love y'all.
Tea with Tamela. Let's laugh and spread love. Tea with Tamela. You're more than enough. Tea with Tamela. Don't ever give up. Tea with Tamela. Come and fill your cup. Tea with Tamela.